Greetings, gang. John Stamos here, the Renaissance Garden Guy, here in my Hardiness Zone 5B 6A Michiana Shores garden. Today we're going to do a short video about, I'm not going to say it's my favorite topic, but it's one I'm real familiar with. It's protecting ornamental perennials from voles and chipmunks. I live here in the forest, and voles and chipmunks live in the forest, and they don't want to live in the forest. They want to come inside the friendly confines of my garden's fence. They're safe from predators, lots of good stuff to eat. So voles and chipmunks here in my Michiana Shores garden are a transcendental threat. They're here constantly. So I'm really well versed in protecting my plants from these guys, because man, they'll make a salad bar out of an entire garden in no time, particularly voles. They're just pernicious little crappers, and they reproduce quickly. So what I'm going to do is show you how to protect your plants from them. So voles and chipmunks, I'm not going to discriminate. They're both terrible. Voles are really worse. What we're going to do is do a combination, little bit of a two-step process for protecting ornamental perennials from voles and chipmunks. What you can do is go to the Renaissance Garden Guy website, renaissancegardenguy.com, and go ahead and find the article called "Protect Your Plants from Voles and Chipmunks." This video is going to be sort of the companion to it. It goes into a lot more detail. The video will be quick and short, and it'll be fairly illustrative, and I think it'll help you out. And definitely the products I like to use, you can read all about those in the article. I often use it, varying these products in varying amounts and varying manufacturer type. But there's one that I use all the time. It's a repellents product, and again, you can read a lot about it in that article. Again, it's on the Renaissance Garden Guy website, renaissancegardenguy.com, and it's called "Protect Your Plants from Voles and Chipmunks." You go ahead and check that one out, and kind of can consider it a companion piece to this video I'm doing right now. All right, you're looking at the hole here for this blue cadet hosta that I'm going to plant, and I want to make sure that voles and chipmunks don't chow on this blue cadet hosta, particularly voles. So first step, here's the hole. It's already excavated, it's ready to go. On the bottom of the hole, like I said, this is kind of a two-pronged approach. Take some general mole and vole and burrowing animal repellent that amends the soil, makes the soil really unpalatable, stinky, inflames the nasal passages, makes the food taste lousy. I'll put some of that in the bottom of the hole. Because what's going to happen when things get watered in, this stuff, which is, again, it's a soil amending repellent. The plants don't do anything with it, but the soil gets stinky and nasty, and it makes the food source of these burrowing critters nasty too. If it's moles, it makes worms taste bad. Anything around it tastes bad. The soil is primarily it's the soil. The soil is smelly. Get this little wood mite out of here. I always save those little guys. Makes the soil smelly and stinky and just a bad environment. So that's at the bottom of the hole. So when I get this plant planted and we water it in, this stuff will kind of seep its way into the ground, and it'll prevent any kind of burrowing coming from underneath or alongside the plant. So that's step one. Now, the next thing I do is I put a little more dirt in. Put it right over the top of this layer of soil amending repellent. Okay? Pretty good layer of dirt. And I'm going to test my depth. Here's the hosta. This poor guy has spent 3 summers now in this pot, and I'm finally going to get him in the ground. I feel terrible about it. Okay, almost done. So a little more soil, just a little bit. All right. Now what we're going to do, because this plant is going to root down, and when it roots down, what we want it to root down into is some systemic repellent. What this stuff does, it's different than the stuff we just put down. The plants take this stuff up into their cells. The roots bring it in, and it gets distributed throughout the tissues of the plant. Roots, stems, foliage, blooms, everything. And it makes, it's got some really kind of nasty active ingredients that make plants taste horrible to voles and chipmunks, particularly capsaicin. Again, you'll read all about this product on the website. It's a phenomenal product, and I go into a lot of detail. But you'll see there's a nice layer of this stuff in the bottom of this hole. Now the next step, I don't want to set the plant's roots right on top of that. I'll put another little layer of soil, because I want the plants to root into a decent substrate. And that's this little layer of soil separating the systemic repellent in the plant's roots, at least initially, is good for that. So let's get the hosta in the ground. And it's going to be a little bit of a fight. It's been in this pot for a long time, so my apologies. Bear with me. Come on, buddy. Here it comes. There we go. All right. If you look at the roots in that hosta, this thing has been pot bound for a while. You can tell. So these roots are going to they're going to just go right down into that. Actually, the bottom of the pot is stuck to the. You have to separate that. There we go. Those roots are they're gonna go right down into that dirt, and they're gonna take up that systemic repellent really soon. It won't take them long at all. So actually, I might even put a little more soil in there just to raise this up. There's plenty of repellent, plenty of systemic repellent on the bottom. When this plant roots down, it'll root down into that stuff in no time. So there we go. That's a good height and good distance from these other two plants. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to add more soil. Around this root ball, not all the way to the top of the hole, probably 2/3 of the way up. And this soil, this is good stuff. Those roots will root down into it. See what I'm doing there? About 2/3 of the way up to the top of this hole, and surrounding the root ball is this soil I've just put in. All right, so what's going to happen now is more of this systemic repellent's going to go in. And I'm going to sprinkle it. I'm kind of liberal with it because it really doesn't hurt the plants. And right around this 2/3 of the way full ring of soil around the root ball. Again, you'll see this on RenaissanceGardenGuy.com, the Renaissance Garden Guy website, and how to protect perennials from voles and chipmunks, step by step. Okay, so there's a pretty good amount of that stuff around this hosta, and now I'm going to go ahead and fill this hole back up to the top with soil. Now, see what's going to happen now is that those roots extend outward. They are going to take this systemic repellent up, and they're going to distribute it throughout the tissues of the entire plant. It'll turn the plant into a big hot pepper, basically. Capsaicin is a massive active ingredient of this stuff. And the good thing about this stuff is it lasts for a year. And you can just retreat it topically on the surface in a year's time. You won't have to dig anything up and redo all this. It doesn't wash away. Obviously, when you water the plant, it helps the plant take the chemical and active ingredients up into its system. So it doesn't hurt anything at all to water. In fact, you're supposed to water after you put this stuff in. And the same thing with the soil amending repellent. This stuff kind of, saturates the ground and makes the soil inhospitable to these burrowers. But you see what I've done? This plant is pretty well packed in with soil. I'll put a little more around there. All right. Good soil, good repellent. Coup de grace, here we go. A little more systemic granular around the plant, on the surface of this soil. A little more to get in there and let the plant to take up. This is good. This hosta is going to be well insulated from assault. from rodents. And yeah, you take your time and you do this the right way, and your plants will be fine. It works great for me. Finally, on top of this soil, I add a little bit more of the soil amending repellent. Not the systemic stuff, the stuff that makes the soil nasty. Again, doesn't hurt the plant. And it keeps these little burrowing cuties away from the plant's roots and leaves and stems and foliage and everything else. Okay, so final step. It's all in. Now we're going to mulch. I always mulch. All my planting beds are mulched. Mulch is good. It's pretty good for weed control because at its interface with the soil, it depletes the soil of nitrogen. So weeds and things that are trying to take root typically can't, unless they're robust perennials that really don't care if there's nitrogen or not. But in general, mulch is a good weed barrier because of its nitrogen depleting properties. It's actually not the mulch itself. When the mulch deteriorates, there are a number of microorganisms that aid in that sort of the decomposition process, and they utilize that nitrogen. So the microorganisms that steal nitrogen from the surface of the soil. Okay, enough about mulch. It's great stuff because, like I said, it keeps weeds away and also retains moisture in the summertime when it's hotter than hell outside. When you water your plants, this mulch will help keep the soil moist and keep the root systems of these plants cool. Good. Mulch is good. Some people opt for a natural mulch. I use a dyed red mulch. Dye doesn't hurt the plants, doesn't hurt anything that I know of. You might hear other people say to the contrary, but I've never had a problem with it. Okay. So this house is pretty well mulched in. Put a couple more little handfuls around just to make sure. A little bit more. All right. Hosta's mulched. Pack it in just a little bit. And then finally, not everything's mulched in, put a little bit more systemic. Again, the systemic, the stuff that the plant itself takes up. This will wash into the soil underneath the mulch, and the plant will have additional protection. It'll take more of this stuff up, and it'll have additional protection against voles and chipmunks, and little guys that like to gnaw on plants. Those are the two culprits in my garden, voles and chipmunks. Primarily voles. Okay, so we got some more systemic stuff down. Good juicy amount. And the last thing you're going to add before you water is a little bit more of the soil amending product. Again, I know this seems like a lot of work, but trust me, it's worth it. It's very effective. Now, the soil amending repellent, typically, this stuff lasts only for a few weeks. And you don't have to dig anything up, but you may want to topically reapply it. That's the soil amending repellent, not the systemic repellent. The systemic repellent lasts for a year. And again, you can apply both types of repellents topically. The soil amending repellent, apply it every few weeks. 3, 4, 5, 2, whatever you think. If you're getting a lot of rain, you'll have to apply it more frequently. Okay, so this bad boy is protected. We dug the hole, bottom of the hole is the soil amending repellent, and I put a layer of dirt down, and then I sprinkled that layer of dirt with systemic repellent, and I added a little more dirt, so when I potted when I bedded the plant, its roots were not touching directly into the systemic repellent. There's a little bit of soil for those plants to start to root into, and then they'll get down into that repellent and start taking it up. Then around the plant, because when you plant a plant, the pot that it comes in, you want your hole to be wider. So there's a empty space around the root ball of the plant when you put it in there. I fill that empty space up about 2/3 of the way, then I sprinkle more systemic repellent around that little channel, whatever you want to call it, around the root ball, and I fill the rest of it up with dirt, and then I've got, you know, just exposed dirt, and then I add more systemic repellent, and I add some more soil amending repellent, and then after I do that, I add mulch, and then a little more systemic repellent and a little bit more soil amending repellent. And now this thing is ready to water. I'm going to water it in really good. The active ingredients of these products are going to get down. One will impact and affect the soil, one will impact and affect the plant. And working together, they'll do a really good job of keeping this plant safe from voles and chipmunks. It's a good system. So that's it, gang. John Stamos here, the Renaissance Garden Guy, finishing up this little tutorial on protecting your plants from voles and chipmunks. Again, go ahead and check out renaissancegardenguy.com. In the search box, look for protect your plants from voles and chipmunks. Lots of detail about what we talked about here, but do this system, two-pronged approach, two types of repellents, systemic and a soil amending repellent, and you'll do a great job of protecting your plants from these little buggers. So that's it for now. John Stamos, the Renaissance Garden Guy. Catch you next time. So make sure you hit subscribe here on this channel. Check out renaissancegardenguy.com, and we'll catch you all later.